As the COVID-19 pandemic forced authorities to impose more and more restrictions on the use of closed spaces, New Yorkers rediscover the beauty of parks.
Whenever on weekends, some lovely friends will bring me to the park. I feel like I'm just really close to nature. I just love to see how people are still together, but we still have this social awareness that we're going to wear masks or we're going to have this social distance. I think people definitely use park a lot more often.
But having well-maintained open spaces is not an easy task. Operators and volunteers have to fix and paint the benches and the water fountains, collect fallen leaves, inspect sport fields and playgrounds, and constantly provide services that respond to the changing needs of users.
For too long, we've seen that the Parks Department as an agency has been chronically underfunded. In 2019, we were successful in getting $44 million added to the city budget for parks. That funding created nearly 350 new positions across maintenance, operations, horticulture, but also funding for things like our natural forests. Our natural forested areas that are in parks require really specific needs for conservation, for maintenance, for ongoing care. We were able to get funding for that.
This year, the group could not achieve the same results.
It is time now to declare a state of emergency in New York City.
In the 2021 New York City budget, funds directed to the Parks and Recreation Department have been cut by 14% with respect to last year. That's more than $84 million. Due to this shift, trash has become a concern in the park. Hiring for seasonal summer staff was suspended, so volunteers have taken over most of their work.
We've definitely had to shift a lot of our focus from doing landscape and horticulture work and focus a lot more on basic maintenance, particularly because of the city budget cuts.
John Delgado manages the volunteer program with around 3,000 volunteers a year. This year, he's had to work with fewer staff and fewer volunteers. COVID regulations allow 15 participants per volunteer group.
Historically, our volunteers were responsible for painting benches, for mulching street trees, to helping weed garden beds, and we did trash removal too, but not as often. For the last 3 or 4 months, 90% of our work are trash pickup.
This is not the first time that a public health crisis sparks interest in parks and open spaces. After the 1800s cholera outbreak, streets in New York were widened, and it inspired planners like Frederick Law Olmsted, whose son had died from cholera, to design both Central Park and Prospect Park. The cholera outbreak left a mark on the urban landscape in New York City. With time, we'll see what the long-term effects of COVID are on the park system.
These last few months have really showed that parks play a really special role in our lives. And so we're hopeful as advocates that we can really tap into that energy and get more New Yorkers to realize that we need to call attention to that. But we also know that they're going to play a key role in keeping us safe and sane and connected to one another during what might be a really difficult few months.
Looking after parks is a responsibility we all share. Open spaces took care of us during the pandemic, and now it's time to give back.